And welcome to the 2023 edition of Black Seinfeld, the show about nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
In case you don't know, you should know. Hi, everyone. I go by the name of Giovanni Anglin. It's Trinidadi, Panamanian Poppy, Rude Boy, Top Gunner, Suck Panyamada. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the show.
What's going on, folks? This is Bastion. This is recording live from LA. Geo is in Brooklyn, New York. We're in 2023. This is our first episode back from our couple week vacation, which we normally do take from December to January. Geo,
Yes,
how you
this was
feel? How you feel being
longer.
back?
I feel great being back. I feel energized being back. We took a bit of a longer hiatus than normal, but we had to put our ducks in a row. We had to get certain things situated and stuff. But I'm happy to be back here in the new year. Happy New Year to all of our listeners. This is year 23. This is the MJ year, people.
Yes, sir. MJ year. Also, a quick shout out to my little brother Marcus, who turned 23 on Monday. So this is his MJ year
Wow.
as well. I know.
Wow.
Everybody's
Wait,
getting
damn.
older. I know.
Marcus was born in 2000. That's crazy.
Crazy.
Damn. Wow. Anyways, man, you look great. How have you been?
Yes, I've been fine. As Gio said, we took an extended. Usually, we're normally back the second week of
Exactly.
January, but I told you I needed another week. One, because I just took off the days that we had off, but two, we needed to revamp some of the stuff I had going on. So one thing I did revamp is the colorway of how our YouTube videos look. So we are still on YouTube. Just type in
Yep.
Black Seinfeld. You'll be able to follow, see our channel. I pretty much upload all the videos that we did all of 2022. So you can see us in, I think, half the videos because I was recording more of the second half than the first half of the year. But yes, you could see all our stuff on YouTube. Just type in Black Seinfeld. And if you're just more into the audio, as you're on your computer working on your Microsoft Excel sheet, we are on all podcast platforms, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify. Just type in Black Seinfeld and you'll be able to hear pretty much everything. And
Yes.
just before I forget, we did do the Black Seinfeld top albums of 2022 review. It's a doozy. It's a really, really long one, but I put some
Yes.
music in between. I think we had some fun.
I had such a good time doing that episode with you. One, because I don't know if you know this or not, but the top 10 albums of the year is one of our most popular episodes that we do. And the year of 2021 is in which we did not do one that year. I've gotten countless amount of messages, emails about why the hell we didn't drop this episode. Why didn't we upload the podcast about it? Why did we only just upload a little Instagram photo of it? And I'm happy that it's just out so people can listen to that, because to my dismay, I didn't think people would listen to a 3 hour long podcast about music, but I stand corrected and they do. And I think what helps is we actually play the songs that we recommend people check out, and we talk about the albums that we recommend for people to check out in case if they missed. So love doing that episode.
Yes. So if you just go on our podcast, you'll be able to type in Black Seinfeld on pretty much any podcast platform. You'll be able to
Yes.
see the latest episode for top albums of 2022 or 2022. Yes.
Correct. And just in case, if you'd like to contribute to that list, if you want to talk about that list, or hell, maybe you want to talk about what we're going to be talking about in this episode, please go to blackseinfeldny@gmail.com. Well, type that in rather if you want to leave a comment or anything like that. And also, don't forget blackseinfeld.com. That's still a thing if you want to listen to the latest episodes as well. If unless you don't want to download the podcast, it's available on the website as well.
Yeah.
Just want to put that out there.
One of my goals for 2023 is to remove the blackseinfeld.com website from Squarespace and move it into a separate platform.
Okay.
That's one of my goals. I wanted to do that last year, but I think this year I could probably do it maybe by March. It will still work. It'll just be
Mhm.
not on Squarespace.
Okay.
Yeah.
What else is on your 2023 resolution list this year?
This like read more books. That's another thing. Read like actually finish a couple books a month. If I could do 1 to 2 books a month, that would be pretty good. Different genres doesn't have to be just nonfiction. And just like watch some TV shows this year. Just watch more shows. Try to put that in more Black Seinfeld episodes. I used to do that in our early days where I'll
Yes.
discuss like a TV show pretty much every month. But it is extra work and a lot of stamina to watch most of these shows, especially if you just can't connect to it. And I just don't
Right.
want to keep reflecting on like, oh, yo, this show was good and it's like 6 seasons in. So I do
And
want
that's
to
why
start a lot of season 1, season 2 type shows.
and that's why I prefer watching movies because it gives you everything within 2 hours, 2.5 hours max. That's why I enjoy still going to the movie theaters. That's why I still enjoy just cinema, the genre of cinema in general. And we're going to be talking about a film later on within the episode that I was happy to watch, not in the theaters, but on Netflix. So I can't wait for that. Um,
And what about
but
you? Any quick resolutions?
my resolution is always the same every year, and it's just do better than what I did last year. That's always been the resolution. But I will say I've been doing a bit more different things as of late. For one, I am now one of the people that have been participating in Dry January. That's right. For those of you who do not know, Dry January is a month in January where you don't drink alcohol. And I've been doing it. And I gotta say, Bastion, I feel great. Can't lie to you, man. I've been exfoliating. I've been losing weight because I haven't been drinking. I've been eating some greens. I've been drinking a lot more water. I feel great.
It's very interesting. It might be because you're outside, always at the bar type person. Are you like just not going to the bars? That's how you're
I
avoiding
haven't
it?
been to the bar at all
Okay. There you go. For me, I
since
only
the last
drink.
week in December.
Okay. Okay. Like New Year esque
Yeah,
area.
like I quit cold turkey. I have not gone at all.
That's good. That's
And
good.
that's where a lot of my friends work. That's where I see a lot of people, and I haven't been at all. So I feel I feel great. I can't wait to get I can't wait to get a drink in February, but for now I'm enjoying this. I'm enjoying this cleanse and I'm seeing the effects of, hey, this is what happens when you don't drink and you don't go to the bar almost every week. So this is really nice.
Good to hear. I drink a little bit, but I recently got for Christmas like a the alcohol mixer set that bartenders have. So I've been
Okay.
playing with that. It's been pretty fun. I did a Boston sour the other day.
What's a Boston
It's
sour?
pretty much the whiskey sour, but you're using the egg white.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So
Okay.
so yeah.
What
So
else did you get for Christmas?
a book. Actually, what book is it? This is what it sounds like by Susan Rogers. Susan Rogers is well known um audio engineer for Prince. So she wrote a book
Mm,
about music and like how to understand it. It's pretty interesting so far.
yes, that intro, by the way, was 1999 from Prince, and I was saying to Bastion off air that this is probably one of the smartest moves Prince ever made was create a song in the 80s about 1999, and then when 1999 is here, all you heard was this damn song, and I think that was perfect.
It's ingenious. Shout out to
It
Prince.
is.
R.I.P.
And
Prince.
R.I.P. to Prince, and so I'm thinking about uh, musicians that have songs about a year or a day. And I'm thinking, what happens when it actually turns into the year 3000? Are people from the year 3000 going to go back and listen to the Jonas Brothers 3000? I wonder about these things.
If music survives that long, especially digital music, if nothing happens within the next 1,000 years, which would be insane for something to
Right.
still like understand its purpose, right? There's things from 500 years ago. It's like, what did they use this for? So I can only imagine if audio could last that long for 1,000 years, then they'll be doing the same thing like Childish Gambino 2005. That was the first song I thought about.
See, exactly. Year 3005 as well on because of the internet, which is going to be turning, I think, 10 years old this year, right?
Yes.
There's a lot of albums in the year 2023 that's going to be turning 10 years old, 20 years old. We're going to get to those later on in the year. I'm excited to talk about these albums because I feel like these certain albums they make us, especially specifically you and I, and a lot of generation of children that just grew up around certain eras, especially in New York around 2003, 2013, etc.
Yeah. So I can't wait to see if any of these artists do like a re-release and add like
Yes,
bonus 2 or 3 songs that didn't make the cut but were pretty good. But yeah, it should be
uh,
interesting.
that should be interesting. Well, first things first, Bastion. We have missed so many things while we were away, and the first thing I want to do is congratulate the country of Argentina for winning the FIFA World Cup after a brilliant match with France. I'm telling you, man,
Oh,
this is probably the best football match we're ever gonna get in life ever, and that cannot go unwarranted without the main man, the breakout star. Yes, I mean Kylian Mbappe. Okay.
yeah. That was a very strange game. I did think France was not playing up to par from how they were playing throughout the entire World Cup. So I thought it was strange. But Mbappe scored, did a hat trick. And we can never forget that. They kept them in the game all the way into overtime in that last second
Yes,
block. They could have won 4-3, but I did think the goalie from Argentina was way better uh,
definitely,
than.
definitely better.
But yeah, as Gio said, it was a very fun game. I was in New York for that. I was watching it with my family, and it was intense. It took a lot of energy out of me because if the game finished by like noon, most games you're watching like basketball and football, they finish in the evening. Then you can just knock out and go to sleep. Yeah, I was
Right.
restless the entire day. That game took so much energy from me. I wasn't even
Yeah.
playing.
I think what's a bit sad about this is the peak. This is as good as you're gonna get it. This is probably the best, one of the best football matches, football meaning soccer matches you're ever going to see.
Yeah,
Ever. This has
yeah,
been the first time. This has been the first football match since 2006 that ended in a penalty kick shootout with Italy taking that one when that was hosted back in Brazil in 2006. But again, man, Lionel Messi, he is undeniably now he's considered one of the goats, if not the goat. It's arguable.
yeah. Now it's no longer arguable. Like now he's like cemented in history. Like that's it. He's the
Mhm.
greatest of his time. There's no need for a debate.
Sorry, CR7 fans.
So, nah, forget him. I do not care about him at all. Um,
Oh, do
but
you not agree with his deal with the
well,
Saudis?
that's all he could do. He could not come to America anyway. So,
Yeah.
um, that most soccer teams are owned by a couple Saudis too. So I thought that was very
Yes.
interesting.
The Saudi investment firm, they have their they have their hats in multiple football teams.
Yeah, I think Paris Saint Germain as like one of them.
Yeah,
Um, PSG, but yeah, that's enough soccer. I know most of y'all listeners are not soccer fans, but World Cup is a little bit different. But
it is.
it was a date to remember.
And shout out to Kylian Mbappe. He's the next one up. I'm telling you, this was
Legacy.
like Kobe versus Jordan. This was like Kobe off the bench versus Jordan 98,
Yeah,
97, 98 Jordan. You feel me?
yeah. Even
And
even though he sealed his legacy from already winning
yes,
his first time there 4 years ago, it was still very interesting to see.
it was, and it was interesting because hey, they could have made history and won back to back, which is not easy to do, especially in the World Cup. So
Yeah,
the match spoke for itself.
Mbappe would have
Um,
been connected to Pele if he won. to be
Yes,
young and win two, and it's insane. It's insane.
I agree with you, man.
All right, let's get into politics. Politics, a couple of things happened within politics. It would have been interesting if we did the show last week. We would have made this the centerpiece, but because it was this happened like roughly 2 weeks ago, Kevin McCarthy, who was voted in
Yes.
to the House of Representatives, the 55th House of Representatives, had this I could say dramatic week because it took
You
him
can say that.
5 days in order to get that position. Now, we don't really talk, we do talk about like Republicans every now and then as like just clowning them, but this is like them clowning themselves on live TV for the world to see. And it was very funny. It was very insightful in terms of the Republicans do not trust each other. They do not see eye to eye. There are different caucuses that work in their own way because of the red wave did not happen the way they thought it would happen. You couldn't really get by off a Trump card saying like, oh, Trump likes me, so you should vote for me. It just did not work out that way. So now Republicans are trying to change tactics. They're trying to see like, what could we do to get some new voters to actually vote for them. And you could see the dismay. That's why it took roughly 15 voting sessions in the stream
Mhm.
of 5 days in order for Kevin McCarthy to actually get nominated. There was another, and the reason there was able to vote for a Republican is because the House of Representative leans towards the Republican in seats. I think by like extra 8 or 10, if I don't recall.
Yes, correct.
So because of that, like they were going to get majority anyways. They just needed exactly 218 or more votes for him to be nominated. And every time they did it, they're short 20, 15, and he keeps going on. Uh,
Exactly. And mind you, Bastion,
yeah,
this hasn't happened in over 100 years. And because of that, because of the Republicans not able to uh, vote for a majority leader, what happens with the House of Representatives is, you know, no sort of bills, no laws, nothing can be discussed without the vote of a leader. And so what we had was a standstill of the House of Representatives, and this was making history because again, this hasn't happened for a century, essentially.
yeah,
And I thought this was some brilliant red on red crimes. And I think this goes to show as well, being that some of the people who are anti Kevin McCarthy, it shows a couple of things. One, the power of Trumpism, because even when Trump tried to endorse Kevin McCarthy, there were some Republicans that still went, "Oh, this is even worse. We're not voting for this man." And two, it goes to show, similar to the Democrats, even though we as people who lean towards the left, and there's always this infighting and just different subsection of being a Democrat or just being a liberal in general. We are starting to see that now in full display with the Republican Party, and I like it. I like this a lot, and I will make a prediction in the upcoming elections is that we're going to see a lot more red on red crime, and I can't wait. And I fully predict we're going to get a DeSantis Trump WWF SmackDown verbal warfare pretty soon. Mark my words, people. You heard it here first.
some of the reasons that a lot of the Freedom Caucus people wanted to hold back uh, Kevin McCarthy from running is because they wanted some power, right? They had some concessions that were designed to give members a greater say over the working of the house. So some of the examples that they were able to pass through, and you could definitely check out New York Times. They wrote an article about this. One was requiring lawmakers to receive the text of bills 72 hours before a vote, which is something that, okay, that makes sense. You can't
Sounds
do it's like
reasonable.
yeah, it sounds reasonable. You can't get these 400-page documents and saying like, oh, we you got to read it today because we're going to vote for it in 2 hours. That I understand. And quoting New York Times, it also includes a stipulation that the legislation must address a single subject in an attempt to discourage the introduction of sprawling legislation that mashes together numerous pieces of unrelated bills. And that was another one I was like, this one makes sense too. So
Yeah, right.
in sense, like sometimes they'll do a bill that's focused on like let's say infrastructure, and then they'll throw some extra bills about like policing out of nowhere. It's like this has nothing to do. Like you're mismatching. This is for like the floors and roads. Like why are you pulling this? And so they want to stop most of that as well because a lot of bills are kind of shoved through other bills, and that's weird. So I was
Yeah.
like, okay, this seems kind of reasonable too. But this one is unreasonable, and I probably wouldn't agree with it if I was Speaker of the House. Is a one-member snap vote to oust the Speaker. So instead of getting like
Oh,
5 people, 10 people, 50 people to vote together in order to start a vote to oust them, all they
takes
need is
one.
one person. So you can
Damn.
imagine. So sometimes I look at U.S. politics and wonder the founding fathers, their concept of what democracy was trying to do in America was just kind of create a group of people that will pass laws through, go over, have some debate, need like 2/3 vote, I'm done. This is adding more to the cycle. If anything, is adding more to slow down the pace. So anytime there's a disagreement, there's other ways to make sure nothing passes through.
Sort of like a filibuster almost.
Filibuster is one of them, but filibuster definitely became more popular in the 70s and was more designed for like racism and keeping more white supremacist like ideologies within the United States, and adding this one member snap vote to oust the Senate leader is kind of the representative, the current House Speaker is kind of like bullying too. So if you don't agree with someone says, it's like I'm just gonna oust you. Everybody does the vote. The vote doesn't happen, and then you just wasted like a whole day.
Exactly. It seems like a disagreement is going to become inevitable if all it takes is one person, because how many people are in the house? Like at least what, 300?
Yeah. So
Exactly.
yeah,
So all it takes is one person to disagree. You don't think in a room full of 300, 400 people, one person is going to disagree with a bill
yeah.
with yeah, it just makes no sense whatsoever.
So I do think maybe the 72 hours ahead of the vote thing helps balance that out, because imagine getting a bill the same day and you have to vote for it in 2 hours. Then it's like, no, I'm going to vote to oust them. So I could read the bill in time. And by the time like the voting finishes, then it's like, okay, I know what the bill says. We could vote for it. We're playing chess and checkers here.
Yeah, politics is a dirty game, man.
Yeah. Speaking of dirty imposters, George Santos. Have you been hearing about this man being like the biggest liar in politics?
I have not. Can you please enlighten me on what's going on
So,
with George?
so this is another New York Times report about George Santos. It's so to clarify who George Santos is, he's a U.S. representative from New York's 3rd Congressional District, covering part of Nassau County, Long Island, and Northeast Queens. He ran last year and he won his district, and of course he's going to DC. The thing is, New York Times ended up, just doing like a regular piece on someone that wins. And as they were doing research on George Santos, they realized that everything that he said in the speeches and his kind of press release wasn't true. So what did he lie about? One, graduating Baruch College. He didn't go to college. He didn't graduate
Oh,
college. Yeah. And
oh,
you would think like, a couple people. We're from New York. We know a couple people that went to Baruch. So okay, he didn't graduate Baruch College. Like, okay, that's a weird lie to lie about. Like, you could try to do it.
but did he go to Baruch
No, he did
College?
not. Yeah. Um,
Okay.
he did get his GED though. That's something like he said, like, he couldn't finish high school and he worked to get his GED. So all right, so that one is true, but he did not go to Brew College, and he did not play volleyball there either, which is a weird thing to lie about too.
Huh.
Working on Wall Street, he said that he worked with Citigroup and Goldman Sachs. When the journalist, all they had to do was just pretty much call Citigroup, say, "Hey, did this person work there?" And it's like, no. Oh, okay. And Goldman Sachs, no. And his answer saying like he did deals with them, he worked with them within a deal, but he didn't work for them. That was his comeback.
Oh, this nigga's a con man.
Another
He's Frank Abagnale.
another one is owning multiple rental properties and earning as high as six-figure income. It's not true. That never happened. Because they say he was running a business, but they couldn't find the clients. Because when you're running a business and you have clients, you have to and you're running for like a Congress or something government, you have to show your list of clients because they don't want any crossover. And they realized that like he doesn't even have any clients. So it's either he's lying about the clients or he's lying about the money. He's lying about both.
The next one is he's a doctor.
No. This is even worse. I'm not gonna lie. Having Jewish ancestors that survived the Holocaust.
Holy, okay,
That's
this
not.
dude is, yeah, that's a no-go. He's canceled, right? Like he's done. He's done for, right?
he, he's Brazilian. His maternal grandparents are from Brazil. Like none of that ever happened. It's not true. It only took a couple
So,
days to figure that out.
okay, so once you go down that route,
Hmm.
okay, it's got to be over for him, right? Like he's no longer the U.S. representative for New York's third congressional district, right? Like that, like he's out of here.
I got two more lies for
Oh, does it get worse?
well, here's one of them that was interesting. I didn't write this down, but I did read it. He actually does have a case of stealing from his mom's employer in Brazil, and the court date he kind of ran to the United States, so that's been like something that Brazil recently found out, and they're going to bring the case back up again.
I love this man. This dude is a con man. Like he really was a hustler. He ain't finished high school. He got his GED. He lied about everything. This man is a political Frank Abagnale from Catch Me If You Can.
It's
Salute
interesting
to this man.
because I'm pretty sure the Conservative Party, like Republicans, like looked into him, but he probably matched the candidate because he is a gay Latinx male that lives in Queens, New York, and he
Mhm.
probably hit like, and he's anti-abortion too, and he has a lot of conservative background and ideas that fit within the party. So instead of like, oh, you're a fraud, we can't like, you can't
He must be in
you
Bayside.
can't be the face of the party out here at Bayside. Maybe Elmhurst. I think it's Elmhurst. I forgot where.
Ah,
But they actually spoke to like old friends and ex-boyfriends, and they said like, oh, he lives above his means. Like he has high luxury taste, but could never have a salary to match it. I was like, damn.
oh, he's one of us.
Yeah, I was like, oh, yeah, the average
I
New
get it.
Yorker. I get it.
I get it. He's one of
We
us.
want to have Louis Vuitton, but we're gonna have like one piece of Louis Vuitton by the time we're 50.
Word. Yeah.
Two more
We're
things.
probably gonna keep the box
We're
too.
gonna keep the box, yeah, and keep the bag too. It's a nice yellow bag.
Absolutely.
Um, two more things that was not true is he was running an animal welfare charity. They tried to check the IRS. It wasn't the IRS, so it's like, okay, so this charity was not real. So they're saying that maybe he took money from the charity too, if he did like a GoFundMe or something. And last and not least, having employees who died in the Pulse nightclub shooting.
Oh shoot.
Yeah, he said, and it's funny because they did ask him like about the employees. He said, "I do know them, and they could have worked for me, like future, like they will or could work for me." I'm like, what? You're not making any sense. I don't know. I being from New York, I had to look into this guy because he's the congressman of like Queens and Nassau County. So I
Hey man, this is your neck of the woods. This is your guy.
exactly. So I had to do extra research on him. You know, I listened to the podcast about him, read like 3 different New York Times articles because they're the one that broke the story. Then like watch a whole bunch of interviews with him on like just him deflecting in the worst ways. Like he wasn't even good at deflecting. Like it's
He
embarrassing
is
for
a fraud,
everybody.
certified fraud. I think I like this dude.
I'm interested if he stays.
He can't stay. There's no way if he stay. There's no way that he stays, man. There can be no chance, no slim chance that this guy stays. If he stays, then he is the embodiment of what a true New Yorker is, but also the American dream. Okay, and I will tell you why. Because New Yorkers, we're natural hustlers. All right, we will hustle you anything. Okay, 50 said, "Hey, I'll step on grapes and water and tell you it's freaking wine, okay? All right. And this is what George Santos is doing. All right. This is exactly what the hell he's doing. And if he's allowed to stay, all right, I think this might be my guy here. Okay. I'm never gonna vote for him because one, I don't live in Queens, but hey, I will keep an eye out on him
Yeah,
just to see what other ventures he's allegedly a part of or he's gonna get himself into.
it's embarrassing. Like I said, it's embarrassing if he stays, but if he stays, it'll be very interesting to see what he says, what he does, what he votes for. He was there voting for Kevin McCarthy, like the first day footage. He had like no friends, like no one was talking to him. Another thing is like he missed his name being called out, so everybody said, "I wonder if
Yes,
that's
I
his
remember
real
that.
name." He just kind of forgot his name was George.
I remember that. I
So,
remember seeing that.
so it's like I thought the whole thing was hilarious. I think more people should talk about it. I do think he should be removed immediately and replaced with like a quick vote in like March or April or something. Because the thing about politics is you can't be lying. All right, you can't be lying. We already have a president that's number one liar. As I said back when I was in 7th grade, my English teacher was like, there was a person that was trying to run for president, but they found out that he plagiarized in college and then he just lost the campaign. His name was Joe Biden. I'm like, huh. That's our president, man. Anyways.
But hey, you know what? Now it seems like if you cheat your way to the top, if you have some little baggage towards you, it seems like you can become successful out here. Look at George Santos, okay? Look at 45. Look at Joe Biden. All right. We want to see them documents too. You feel me? This is for everyone. It's not just for one person. I want to see them documents too. All
Yeah,
right.
I like to see the documents, but it's not. It's like it's not important. Like you could do it in the back seat and tell me what you do after you find out. We don't gotta talk about it every day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but it's you need something to talk about, especially when you have a 24-hour news cycle. You need something to hold on to and something to talk about because what else is there really to talk about?
There's a lot of things to talk about, and one of the biggest things to talk about is what's going
Okay.
on over there in WWE.
Dude,
Gio,
this is making me angry.
Gio, what is
Hi.
going down over there? Me not being an avid WWE person because I have Haitian parents that did not allow me to watch TV until Friday at 8 p.m. But
You could have watched SmackDown Friday at
I
8
was
p.m.
watching Cartoon Network Fridays from 8 p.m. to 9:30. Okay, I was like, "What? You think I will miss a good episode of Courage Cowley Dog for
I
wrestling?"
don't blame you.
You know, I
Yes.
I, I don't follow the storyline. I don't know what's going on. My friend told me about
But
it. Watched 30 seconds of it. Got in trouble. Went back to Cartoon Network.
well, Bastion, it's a great question and every time you ask me about what's going on with WWE, I get a bit sadder because it did not take a full week into 2023 to have Vince McMahon back in the helm of WWE. And basically, the way he did it was he basically put a damn gun to the board's head and strong armed his way back into the board. And not only is he back on the board, he's the executive chairman of the board once again. And this was a dark day for wrestling fans because what happened was before we left for break, I remember discussing the fact that if Vince McMahon wanted to come back to WWE, he probably can because he is the majority shareholder. He owns around 51% of the shares. And so he can make the board of directors' lives very miserable if he wants to strong arm his way back into the company. And that's exactly what happened. And the reason why he was able to do that is because one of the most pivotal things is in about 2024, WWE's uh, rights deal is going to be up with USA Network and Fox. And so once those TV deal rights are up, what they normally do in the board is they negotiate, they talk to different networks, they negotiate, and they come to an agreement with which network they'd like to issue their rights to. And because Vince McMahon is a majority shareholder, he has say and also approval on where he wants his content to be distributed towards. And so he basically he politely put that in an email of, hey, if you don't let me back on the board, I won't approve any sale that you may think about inquiring of, or I won't approve any sort of WWE content distribution because, again, I have the majority shareholds and you need my approval to do so. So, again, he put a gun to the temple of his own company and he strong armed his way back into the board of directors. Because this happened, Bastion, a whole slew of events has taken place. For one, there is about 3 board members that resigned and quit the company. One of them, Manjit Singh, who was one of the lead operators into the internal investigation of what Vince McMahon was doing, which, if you don't know, he was taking company money and he was using it as hush money for all these sexual misconducts that he's been doing throughout the years of WWE. So he was gone. And because he was gone and a lot of other a lot of people in the board resigned, he brought back in 2 people who he once fired, but now that he has control again, he's basically bringing back some of his people, his cronies, to counteract and counterbalance whatever has been going on at the board, because the board strongly unanimously did not want Vince McMahon to return. Okay, they thought it would be a bad look on the company. It would be a bad stain on the company. And remind you, Bastion, this was a board that includes his own daughter, Stephanie McMahon, his son-in-law, Triple H, and Nick Khan, the guy who he appointed as the president, who he appointed as co-CEO when he stepped down, along with Stephanie, who was also the co-CEO and chairwoman. So that's been going on as of late, and it only gets worse, Bastion, because not even a weekend to this, right? Stephanie and Nick Khan, they hold an all hands on deck meeting to WWE employees. Forget the wrestlers, but just the employees that work within the corporation. And within that meeting, they explained that yes, Vince McMahon is back. He's back on the board, and he's back to help WWE with a potential sale, right? And they said at this time, no one's jobs will be affected, and Stephanie will still be the co-CEO and chairwoman of WWE. Nick Khan will still be the co-CEO and of the company as well. And then, Bastion, not even a week into that, Stephanie McMahon resigns as the co-CEO and chairwoman of WWE. She also removes herself from the board, and so she's basically gone from the company. This makes Vince McMahon the executive chairman of the board, and also Nick Khan is now the sole proprietor, the sole CEO of the company, which Nick Khan, who has only been with the company for 3 years, has done the impossible, which was he's gained so much power so quickly that no one ever saw this coming. But the man who really benefited from this the most is definitely Nick Khan. This man is Thanos, okay? He is freaking Thanos because we wrestling fans always thought, Triple H and Stephanie McMahon, they're going to be the heir apparent. They're going to be the ones to gain control of WWE if and when Vince McMahon decides to step away, or let's be real, if he dies. And just the way that all this just went down, and we're not even in the second month yet. This is still going on right now. This is what everyone's been telling me. This is like a season of Succession. I've never seen this damn show, but Bastion's been telling me this is exactly how this plays out. You don't have to watch Succession. You're living it as a fan of WWE. This is what's going on right now. It's a season of Succession. This is season 2, apparently, of Succession.
Well, before that, it's like this conversation, especially with him and his daughter, has been happening for years. When did the daughter start getting involved in like being like CEO or background scene and writing and stuff? When did that start?
Well, great question. When Stephanie was in college, around 19 years old, she was around WWE. She was around helping her father in creative as a writer in the background. In 2002, she was made the general manager of SmackDown. She was made one of the top people of creative. She was the head of the writing team. She had her own team as a global ambassador, as the top global marketing ambassador of WWE. And from what we've been told, the working relationship between Stephanie and her father really soured back in 2021 when they were doing a lot of cuts and layoffs for a lot of the former employees, because again, they were prepping for a sale. So when Stephanie's team, majority of Stephanie's team was basically cut and demolished, that left a sour stain on her, that she felt some type of way about that. And normally when she's in office, she's normally composed and she can mask her feelings. That day when she found out that her whole team was gutted, it was noticeable. The way that she felt was very noticeable. And from that point on, there was a bit of a rift between her and her father. Now, also, I have to say, not even 8 months ago, right? Stephanie took a leave of absence. And during her on her leave of absence, WWE did a great job of staining whatever Stephanie was doing during her time with WWE in her position. So I find it interesting when Vince stepped away due to all this stuff. She came back. The company was like, hey, you know what? Stephanie, we need you just to fill that gap of CEO. She came back openly. I just find this all insane and crazy. And Vince McMahon, I just knew he couldn't just stay away. You know why, Bastion? Because he's been doing this for 40 years. This is all he knows. So what else was he gonna do? What other hobbies was Vince McMahon gonna do? Vince McMahon is the type of person who I'll say this. We wouldn't be here as wrestling fans if it weren't for Vince McMahon, okay? If you grew up watching WWE, WWF, we're here because of Vince McMahon. But because of his own damn ego, he just couldn't stay away. And he did this to his own damn company. And he did this to his own family, essentially. So that's where we are right now. Let's talk about the sale, right? Because that's been a heavily discussed topic,
which is pretty much Succession season 2.
Succession season 2,
exactly. That was the storyline for Succession season 2, without spoiling too much. But the sale of a company.
The big question is, who is going to buy WWE, or who has an interest in buying?
Even like, when did the conversation even happen?
Well, the company was prepping itself for a sale since 2021.
Okay.
Easily. And we can tell that from the acquisition of Nick Khan coming into the company, and also WWE laying off countless amount of professional wrestlers, but also laying off a whole bunch of its corporate teams, such as Stephanie McMahon's team. So the question is, who do you think is going to purchase WWE? Well, I may have some answers. I have some. We have some prospects here. Number one, Comcast. That's NBC Universal. Two, Fox. Three, Amazon. Maybe Disney. Endeavor. And for those of you who don't know, Endeavor, they own the UFC. Um, ooh, the Saudi Arabia. I know we were talking about how the Saudi investment firm they have their hands in many different pools and many different sports clubs, a lot of different football clubs. The Saudis, because WWE already have a 10-year agreement with the Saudis to do 2 shows a year. And I think that's about it. And to make this even worse, there was a report that came out, which turned out to be debunked, that once Stephanie stepped aside and she left the company, that the Saudis already purchased WWE. It did not happen. It's not true, but pandemonium, to say the least, is an understatement of that news circulating wrestling Twitter. And a lot of concerns happened because of the Saudi prince and the practices that happened within Saudi Arabia. Certain wrestlers who, for one, Sami Zayn, who's probably one of the most popular professional wrestlers that they have at the moment, being Syrian, and not to get into huge history there, but Syrians and Saudis, they don't get along. Yeah, it was just very embarrassing to see that happen, especially just reporting fake news. And then Ariel Helwani, one of the a well-known personality within the realm of professional wrestling and MMA, he basically came out and confirmed that the sale to the Saudis has never happened and it's not true. And I think it's I think we should take this man's word, because I don't know if you know this, but Nick Khan, who's now the CEO, used to be Ariel Helwani's agent at the time. So Ariel Helwani is very connected with people within WWE. So I'm not saying, hey, this is coming from Nick Khan directly from Ariel Helwani, but I think it's safe to say, like, it could have been like an easy text, like, yo, Nick, is this true? And yeah. So that's what's happening right now in the realm of WWE. There's more stuff to come out, apparently, because there's other information about Vince McMahon that hasn't been leaked yet, or has been released, that can be very damaging to the company. But again, Vince does not care. Triple H is still head of creative, which is good for now. But again, this is Vince McMahon, and although he says, hey, I'm only here to help sell WWE, or make a potential sale. Again, this is Vince McMahon. The man he's a notorious liar, and I don't trust him. So I for one, think we're going to see Vince McMahon weasel his way back in creative. And when that happens, I am not watching WWE anymore, because I'm sick of it,
Put your foot down.
Tired of it. I put my foot down again.
Allegedly.
I've gone stints without watching WWE, okay? Let's make this very clear. I've been on stints not watching WWE. I got back into it because it's been getting a bit better because of Triple H, all right? And that's what's been going on in WWE. Let's hope nothing else happens, but hey, I doubt that's not going to happen, okay?
That's very interesting, with all this happening in the back scene. And as I said, WWE is huge. There are fans everywhere. And ironically, most people I meet in the podcast sphere, radio sphere, are WWE fans, especially if they love hip hop as well. There's a lot of crossover between WWE and hip hop. So it's very interesting to see how like a true fan will feel about it, because it is part of them, part of their life, and they're very focused on the storylines, and they just want to see the best for the future of wrestling, WWE.
Yes. Yes. There was, I can't tell you how much joy and how much optimism people had when Vince this finally stepped down and he retired, quote unquote, right? Because it was only then where we can finally see some sort of change to the company as a whole. Okay, and when Vince stepped away, what was once a company where people were always on eggshells and anxious and nervous became a more lax environment. It gave so many professional wrestlers that much optimism to, hey, maybe I can sign with WWE, because with Vince in charge, they may not understand the type of person that I am. They may not understand my character. They may not understand the kind of moves that I do. But hey, under Triple H, maybe he's a lot younger than Vince. Maybe he can get it. There's so many wrestlers that left WWE, that got fired from WWE, that got released from WWE, that wanted to come back because since Triple H is now at the helm of creative, certain wrestlers that, was successful when working with Triple H, hey, maybe we can come back. There's so many wrestlers that Triple H has brought back to the company because of how crappy they were used due to Vince that, that gave them some sort of optimism of, hey, maybe my career can get better. Maybe this can be a new day for me in my career. And now that Vince is back, I've been hearing that the locker room they are concerned, which they should be. They
Low
have every
morale.
to be concerned. Not no morale, but
No,
they
no,
are
low
very
low
concerned.
morale, like low morale
Low mor-
concern.
yes,
It's like
but Triple H has assured the talent back last week Friday that Vince is only back for the potential sale of the company. He has nothing to do with creative. Yes, he and Vince may talk about creative, but that is it for now. And that's the key word. That's the caveat, people. For now, because I swear, I I can see Vince walking his ass into gorilla position with the damn headset on, and he's doing the play by play. I'm sick of this. So it's a bit nerve wracking, that we're talking about this when we should be talking about WrestleMania coming up soon, the potential return of The Rock coming back soon,
yeah.
the Royal Rumble coming within 2 weeks. We should be talking about that stuff. But no, we're back talking about Vince because he has a big ego and he just can't let go.
This is very interesting. Very interesting.
Yes,
All right, let's take a break now so you can
please,
chill. And
please.
let's get into the first song. A little bit something cheery. We'll play De La Soul re-release of a single, and we'll get to that in a second. The song is called The Magic Number.
Welcome back. That was De La Soul with The Magic Number off of their album 3 Feet High and Rising. Can't wait for that album to be released on all digital streaming platforms. And I'm happy because De La Soul finally is going to be paid from that album. Shout out to you guys for doing the right thing. People at Tommy Boy, well, the new leader of Tommy Boy who rectified the wrongs of what happened to De La Soul back in the 80s. I appreciate you for that.
Yeah, it was I think Reservoir. It was the company that bought Tommy Boy for like $100 million. So it's like the whole catalog. And it's interesting because I'm a big fan of De La Soul. I remember listening to a podcast with Prince Paul and Open Mike Eagle talking about pretty much most of the background from his perspective of like De La Soul and what was going on, especially with the first 3 albums. And
Exactly.
And Tommy Boy and them getting sued, them being one of the first big court case in hip hop about using samples. And the funny thing about the samples they were sued for weren't for the songs, it was for the skits.
Really?
Yeah, it's for 2 of the skits, one with the turtles, and I forgot the other one what it was for, but it was for the skits. So Tommy Boy kind of like didn't clear the samples for the skits. That's where they got in trouble. It wasn't for the songs. was for the skits.
Wow.
Yes. So the first album, you know, they didn't make much money from that, but then
They didn't make a damn dime.
it made a little bit. And then like De La Soul is Dead, then Balloon Mind State, then 3 other albums after that as well. Was a little bit much cleaner, but they actually did try to get their rights back in 2019, and they were told that's like we're not in the business of giving artists their masters. So
Right.
luckily, when another company bought De La Soul's, actually all of Tom and Boy's rights, as you said, they gave it to them out of just like the kindness of their heart, I guess.
And after the many decades and the consistent conversation about the significance of 3 Feet High and Rising and the way record companies can pimp out to me these artists and just hold their catalogs due to things that should have been cleared on their end. uh yeah, this album is really significant of that, so it's good to see finally some rectification of that. And you always hear about this album being discussed with hip hop heads, music heads all the time. 3 Feet High and Rising being that album where you hear on Vlad or Joe Budden or wherever.
Yeah, it's one of the more iconic albums. Like I said, I was listening to the podcast about it, and Prince Paul says like this album was kind of based on just being more free, and because they're all very young guys, they were able to just like produce through their heart's content. Of course, as they got older, that's why the second album is called "The Soul's Dead." They're a little bit rougher and tougher, you know, because they had to beat up a couple people, which is interesting because this is like hip hop in the 80s. So
Right, late 80s,
late
so it was
80s, late 80s,
89.
yeah, 87, 89. So just
Mm-hmm.
like then, of course, then you have like the Tribe Called Quest age and pretty much going down from there. But it was very interesting. Like De La Soul definitely should get their flowers like more often. So I am hoping that they're like coming back into streaming platform will allow the younger generation more access to their music, because it was hard for me to get their music back in the day. I kind of bumped into Wu-Tang because their stuff is everywhere. And De La
Right.
Soul is like on some YouTube channels you can find it. And I think the only time I was able to download the entire catalog was like the 3 days they had the rights to do that, so they were able to offer it for free through like a torrent.
I think with the success of Spider-Man and the end credits, the post credits basically being that song, I think that sort of sparked an interest in De La Soul, and I think that can help out a bunch with the now re-release into the digital streaming platforms of 3 Feet High and Rising, as well as the other first 3 albums.
And what was your favorite De La Soul album while we're talking
Oh,
about
it was
them?
this. It was 3 Feet High and
3 Feet
Rising.
High
I
and Rising.
remember having to download all of the songs individually, and then once I got it into my Apple iTunes, I had to change the songs, change the song names. I had to put in the number. I had to really, you know, customize it into the full 3 Feet High and Rising albums. You can still do that today on Apple iTunes, but I had to do those. That was when I was still downloading music illegally.
The good old days. Mine is Blue in Mind State. A little jazzy album.
Hmm.
Yeah, very very fun album.
I will say though, Bastion, in the year 2023, if nothing else really comes out, this is probably going to be my number one album of the year. I'm counting it. Okay, yes, it came out over 30 years ago, but hey, that's just how I feel. So don't be surprised when you see the number one being this album.
Oh, you're right. It was 89. Yeah, it came out 89.
Yes. So I'm just warning y'all now. Have you listened to any other new projects as of late? I mean, it's been pretty dry this time around compared to last year where we had like just 2 bangers off, 3 bangers off rip. You had Gunna, you had The Weeknd, you had FKA Twigs. This time around in January, nothing really is coming out. It's just more singles and stuff.
Interesting you said that. I kind of used this time to go back onto albums that came out last year that I missed out. So
Mm-hmm.
one of them was like Preacher's Daughter by Ethno Kane, which is like a very singy song, like a little folk, a little R&B, a little pop, but it's mostly just a lot of singing album. Simone, I mean, what's his name? Suno, Smino,
Smino.
Smino, Love
Yes.
for Rent, which is a really good album, and it's very interesting how he started it and like the samples he used. But then by the time I got to the album, I really liked where he was going for that project. So it's a very, very good project. Um,
Mm.
Jimmy Ghettoland, it's another artist I just bumped into through like TikTok, of course. Listen to his albums, pretty interesting. Should also check that out. And Kuregbin did a collab album with Ve Farco Toure called
Mm-hmm.
Ali, as he sings, and the whole band plays the instrumentals in the back as he sings as well. That's another album if you want to like vibe and chill and listen to. Yeah. So those are albums I was
Okay.
checking out that I missed out last year.
Nice. Okay. Well, one album that I've fully engulfed now and I fully listened to that I tried talking about during the last episode was Little Sims.
Mm.
My Little Sims, no thank you. And man, Little Sims is freaking awesome. I didn't expect this album to come out during the last month in 2022, but nevertheless, I'm happy that she did it. And this album right here, Lil Sims is fed up with the industry, Bastion. She's fed up with her label. Okay. She's fed up with the fact that her label is making a lot more money off of her name than she is. And I think this is in within this album, it feels like this is her last album within her label. And I think she's going independent, which go for Little Sims because she's absolutely one of my favorites. Um, Also, she's just spitting throughout this whole album. She's just flowing. She knows how good she is. And that's what I love about MCs. That the fact that they just know how good they are and it just feels so effortlessly. And that's what no thank you feels like to me. Also, there's a little bit of repeat of sometimes I might be an introvert where she talks about her dad issues and stuff like that and
Mhm.
forgiveness of her dad. I was like, okay, we've done this before, Little Sims. This feels like an extra from what you did in 2021, but I will still welcome this. Hopefully, we never really. I hope you never talk about this again, personally, because I get it now. I understand. But yeah, no thank you, Little Sims. Definitely take a listen to it. It's only 10 songs, 49 minutes, not bad. If you love rap, if you love just, classic rap sounds, if you love a little sprinkle of classical in there too, Little Sims, no thank you.
Cool. Oh, a quick thing about De La Soul. So the Magic Number was their last single from the album that came out in 1989. The first single they dropped was Plug Tunin in
Oh,
88. Then they dropped
wow.
7 singles after that, from like singles from like you know for radio to listen to. Me,
Of
Myself, and
course.
I was number 5, and I think that
Mm,
was what like they were promoting the album on, and that's what blew up.
it definitely blew up because of that a George Clinton sample too.
Yeah.
Parliament Funk.
Yes. And then, of course, Magic Number, which is interesting. I was wondering, it's like, oh, I wonder if this was first. Because I wonder if they're going to, drop Me, Myself, and I as a single and sell it as a 45 like they did for the Magic Number. But that's something I was just looking into while you were
Fun
talking.
fact, Tupac was beefing with De La Soul during the whole East Coast West Coast thing. Tupac was giving everyone bullets and De La Soul was in the mix too. I don't remember why, but that was just a random little fun fact that I thought of
That's
since we were talking about De La Soul.
that's funny. Any other music you wanted to discuss?
No, nothing really. Herbert, finally this has been the album that we've wanted as Ab Soul fans.
Mm.
You can tell he put his soul into this damn album, and I'm happy he's released it. because to me, at least, um, Absol has been one of the most underrated uh and artists that have been bypassed a lot of the times. You know, certain catalog is it's kind of wishy-washy. Certain things hasn't clicked all the way, but he finally released Herbert, and I'm happy he did it, and it's really good. The Black Lip Pacifist is back, and yeah, that's about it. And I still listen to SZA SOS almost every day.
That's funny you said it's like wishy washy. I know what you mean by that. Like some albums was like okay. It's
Yeah,
like
it's a hit or
yeah,
miss,
like
you
these
know?
days wasn't really liked much, but Control System beloved by everybody.
Yes.
Then
Yes.
Do What Thou Wilt was like a lot of good songs, a lot of okay songs, but yeah, Herbert was definitely a little bit more of a fuller project.
Yes.
So yeah, I definitely understand. I remember when These Days came out, I was like, man, what's going on here? But it felt like Kendrick Lamar's Damn in a way. It's like I have to get away from these concept albums that people want more of from me, and I had to
Right.
do something else. So that's what Herbert feels like too. Just him being him.
Yeah.
Just him being him.
I think I love artists having this attitude of I'm not gonna do what people expect me to do. I'm just gonna do what I want to do. You know, I'm confident in what I can do as an artist, so I'm just gonna release my art to the people. And I think when artists have that mentality, rather than having all this pressure on themselves to, give what they think the people want from them, I think magic happens. Gangbusters money. I mean, we've seen that with MGMT.
Yeah, a little bit, but yeah, I definitely yeah. You're right. You're right. That's a good example actually.
Yeah.
So yeah. So I wanted to talk about other things that we kind of missed these past couple of weeks, and one of
Sure,
them
lay it on me, man.
is the Pineapple Express, the bomb cyclone up in the West Coast. I'm out here in California where it was raining. It felt like it was raining nonstop for 2 weeks, but
It's like you lived in a Camp Green Lake at the end of holes
if
and it just started raining out of nowhere
out of
for
it
2 weeks, two weeks.
flooded the whole river. It's very interesting being in California and now like understanding how the people that lived here messed up everything in terms of now it's really a weird land to live on. So there is a tropical type storm that does happen every couple decades, and it just
Hmm.
happened to be this year, where it's
Yeah.
more like a river in the sky. So it downpours what it will normally pour in a year, but in like 2 weeks.
Wow.
So as it transitions all the way from like the end of the West all the way to California, and the way California is built, which is interesting to see on the map, is like there's a lot of mountains, and in the middle is like a bowl. So all the water kind of stays flooded inside.
Hmm.
That's why when you're looking at more of the northern California, that's when you see a lot of like floods and people's houses getting floods and cars being flooded and the
Hmm.
whole road is being flooded. Same thing as like San Francisco. There's parts where it was flooded because of the rain. And one thing about California is like they have a movable rivers do move naturally.
Yes.
And in order to kind of stop that, what they did is they kind of cemented it. So they made this like cemented waterway. Anytime it kind of overrains, that's where the water will kind of flow. The downside about the whole water flow is like it's cement. So the water doesn't go
Anywhere.
anywhere. Hence, it just kind of gets pushed out into the ocean. So California and I think LA was able to collect 30%, roughly 30% of the rain that dropped within these past 2 weeks. When you have other parts of California, they're able to like collect 90%, 80%. And they explained why they're only able to collect 30% is because of all this cement. All the cement allowed the water to be pushed into the ocean. Hence, no one could get it from the aqueducts in the bottom of the,
Ah.
under soil because that's where the water goes. It gets cleaned up and turns to a natural spring. Then we could pump it up throughout the year. That's the purpose of rainwater. That's how we have this cycle of rainwater forever and live through humanity and etc. And I do pass these walkways, and it looks weird because you look like you could jump in and like run a whole mile or skateboard down it. There are some places where people do jog along the line, but this is
Hmm.
where overflood rivers are supposed to go.
Right.
So that's kind of like the downside. Like there's a lot of downsides about LA, and this is one of them that when I did a little bit more research and saw people talk about it and read some articles, like they knew this was a bad idea, cementing everything, but they just did it because it was cheaper. Or they just did it because they just, they had the contract to, and they just did it.
Sounds about right.
So it would have been best to have more like dirt, more place, less cement and more dirt is pretty much the answer to the problems that LA is going to have now and in the future. So they could solve it or try to create
By
a
taking out
solution.
the cement, or
Yeah, pretty much just knock down most of the cement and having more like grass and soil and stuff, but they don't want to do that. They're not interested in that. And when I mean they, I mean like the whole city.
yeah, I hear you, man. That's really unfortunate. I'm happy y'all had some rain though. That must have been a huge difference. What's rain like in California?
It's a bit lighter. I could say it's
Okay,
probably like San Francisco and like Seattle rain in terms of very light, but it
so it's more
does.
distant then?
It's a little bit of both, if anything, because there are times where it does shower very hard. New York City feels like it only showers really hard at night sometimes.
Mm.
But yeah, LA throughout the day it showers, so it's like maybe 12 noon and it's just pouring really, really, really hard. And I'm like, damn, this is insane. And then I go home and it's like light rain. So that's pretty much what was going on for like 2 weeks. We're talking about like maybe it'd be 2 days where it'd be pure sunlight and then boom, raining, raining, raining.
Wow.
Yeah, but
Man, good for you though. I'm happy. I'm happy you finally got some rain
like
there.
like I said, the rain is useless though if you can't hold
You
on
can't
to
do
it.
anything with it
Yeah,
because
30%.
of all the cement.
Yeah,
Yeah, that sucks.
that's what I thought too. It's like, oh no, it's great. They'll probably like use it. Like, nah, we got 30%. It's like, damn, it's crazy. And they tell people it's like you gotta shower less. Like, nah, I still like my 20-minute showers.
Excuse me?
You
I
got
beg your damn pardon?
you gotta tell these corporations using 80% of the water to relax. Okay, I think people use less water every single year. I think the percentage is like 13% of the population use the water, while the rest goes to agriculture.
It's like New York always telling us, "Oh, you have to conserve the energy." Meanwhile, Times Square is lit the f- up.
Exactly,
Beg your damn pardon? You
exactly.
tell Times Square to shut off all these damn lights.
Tell them to
You
go
need to
solar.
conserve some energy.
So
Ex- Tell them to use solar energy, damn it.
that's why it's like I see these articles like in 2023 how to limit your carbon. Uh, like everybody has the amount of carbon they produce. It's like how to limit it.
Yeah.
It's like no, don't talk to me. You better send these articles to these corporations. My carbon footprint is
Exactly.
not enough to affect the world. If anything, everybody's carbon footprint together is not enough to affect the world. It's these corporations, okay?
These
So
damn factories,
these
okay?
factories, man, pollution, the water, planes.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
don't point at me, okay?
Remember how your president want to bring back coal? Remember that?
Yeah, you try to bring back coal. It's
Yeah, how about stop fracking, huh? How about that?
it this I want to see if we could probably talk about this now.
Talk about what?
The conversation between gas stove and electric stove. Have you been seeing it?
I've heard that I've heard this on TikTok, so I don't know if it's true, but I don't know if just correct me if I'm wrong. I've been seeing that New York wants to eliminate gas stoves.
Hmm.
I don't know if this is true, and they want to swap it out with induction stoves, so electric stoves.
Yeah,
I don't know if this is true or not.
it's one of the
Okay,
ideas.
well, that idea can go screw itself
Well,
so hard.
well, let me
I like the fire
let
fashion.
me.
Okay, induction stove. I'm talking about this as as a person who cooks.
Mhm.
You know this about me. Okay, induction stoves are not good. Okay, yes, it's a means to an end, but if I had it my way, I like the fire. Okay, because it's more controllable that way. Induction stoves, not so much. All right,
All right, let me ask you a question.
please
Do you have
go
a
ahead.
do you have a fire stove at home?
That's not the point,
No,
Bastion.
no,
Of
no. I'm
course I.
asking. I'm asking. Do you
Oh,
have do
yes.
you have a
Yes, I
fire
do.
stove at home? All right, great.
Yes, I do.
I
Gas stove.
I also have a fire stove at home in New York. I grew up on it. The apartments,
Yes.
live in 2 apartments, and the house I grew up in all have fire stove. Now, when they're asking how many people use fire stove, you can pretty much ask anybody in the Northeast. They will have a gas fire stove. But what about the rest of the country? Gio, what percentage of the country do you think uses a gas stove?
It's a very good question, Bastion. I'm going to say
Got a number for me?
60%.
60%. You think 60% of the country uses gas stove? Well, it's well
Yes.
less than 35.
Seriously?
It's really, really low, actually. You
Really?
have more people using electric stove, induction is up and coming, than actual gas stove. Over here in the
I'm
West, it's all electric stove and mostly in the mid. You know why?
Why?
Because they don't have an infrastructure for gas. New York City is an old town. It's an old city. We just have gas because we have gas. That's the
Well, wow.
so
No
the
wonder why your food suck like that.
no, it doesn't suck. So another thing too is it's like
Okay.
dishwashers. It's like
Yes.
dishwashers. Like we think dishwashers are nonsensical, right?
Yeah, I remember telling you when I had my corporate job for the first time and there was a dishwasher. I legit asked my manager, "Yo, how do you use this dishwasher?"
Mm-hmm.
I remember that.
So for the
I
yeah
know
yeah
it's normal for a lot of other Americans to have a dishwasher. I know that's a thing. Now in New York and a lot of these renovated apartments, you start seeing dishwashers in there, but it's very tiny dishwashers. So yeah, I know a lot more people have dishwashers than we do.
so it's one of those things where I like to say some of these inventions, I do believe like most inventions are nonsense, and I think it has to do like apps, ideas, and softwares. I think most apps are useless, right? But some of these inventions, like a dishwasher, makes sense. You know, you scrub it a little bit, and then you put it inside. Then you add the soap and whatever for a
You're too
cycle.
privileged. That's privilege, Bastion.
It's actually not because
It's super.
'cause it actually uses less water than you're actually sitting down washing water on
Listen,
your dish. So people think
listen,
it's a privilege.
Bastion.
No, that's what I'm trying to explain. There's a lot of things people think it's a privilege when not really. Most apartments do have dishwashers. Most apartments do have induction, and it's not because it's a privilege, because it's actually the cheaper choice, right? It's different
Mhm.
in New York City. It's different in Northeast, right?
Yes.
Because I could say like my older brother, he lives out in Long Island. It costs him a lot more money to have a gas stove, and a gas boiler than it is to have electric. So he had to switch to electric because it was much much cheaper than the gas.
Man,
So
I'm sorry to hear that. I understand it,
so
but
that's the rest of United States. So this conversation, and I'm on your side. I feel like
like, okay, great. Because I feel like
to an extent,
I hear you. The way that I feel right now, right?
hmm
It's a lot of unlearning that I have to do,
yeah,
right? Especially growing up as a first generation Caribbean American, all right? Because you wash dishes, it builds character, okay? It's just a household chore you just had to do growing up, all right? The idea of a dishwasher, again, it hasn't registered in my brain until I was 26, essentially, right?
hmm
So hearing stuff about dishwashers, like that feels like privilege to me. Like that is a privilege, but I know it's normal for everyone else.
exactly.
Uh,
That's our
induction
northeast
stoves,
brain. That's our northeast
right?
brain.
Induction stoves, they just are not as good as a gas stove.
And that's
You know?
not true. That's another thing I like to say. It's
Oh, please,
actually
you're gonna
as
defend induction
balanced.
stove?
No, dude, I've been using an electric stove for a minute. It's actually as balanced as a fire stove. You just have to get used to it. And I mean, used to, I mean, like a week of like actual cooking. It works the same exact way. It heats up pretty quickly. And the only problem I have is like The coil is very old, so it kind of like turns left
Right.
and right. But you can say that for like some stove if it's broken.
Wait a
It's like it's
minute.
not balanced and stuff. So like one side gets more heat than the other on the pan.
See, exactly. But let me ask you this question then
Mm-hmm.
as well.
Mm-hmm.
Remember that nice little dinner you made yourself during Thanksgiving,
Mm-hmm.
steak and all that stuff?
Mm-hmm.
You did that on an induction stove?
Yeah.
Well, it still looked great, but
No, that's
that
what I'm
actually makes
trying
me a
to
little bit
explain.
sad.
That's what I'm trying to.
It makes me sad.
No, that's what I'm trying to explain to
In
you.
my chef brain, it makes me sad. I said what I said.
Most kitchens actually use induction ovens as well because it will cost so much money to use gas.
I go and if I work in a damn kitchen and they have an induction stove, I'm walking out. Sorry, that's how I
Well,
feel.
you're in the Northeast. That's what I'm trying to explain. That's why it's a difficult
Oh, I know.
conversation to
I'm
have
being
with any
combative here
average New
for a
Yorker.
reason.
What?
Absolutely.
So
You've seen the Bear. Did you see an induction stove in the Bear? No, you did not. Okay.
they were. I
It's all
think
gas
Chicago's
stoves.
still like those major cities can't really count because they fit in the same like tempo as like New York City. It's like there's like
Midwest.
actual gas system that we could
Okay.
connect to when you build a house. If you
Yeah.
build a house in the Midwest, the first thing they'll ask you is connect to the power line because they don't have gas. So
True.
that's something to consider. That's something to think about. And another thing, and this is the last thing I'm gonna say on it, which is pretty interesting, is like there's a lot of studies that show that even if you shut off a gas stove, it will still
Mhm.
leak like the carbon from the gas. So you know how people and you pretty much watch TV shows like this that say like the house is haunted because
Oh,
they
absolutely.
they see like a shadow or they think something passed behind them or whatever.
It's in the dark, though, in the dark.
In the dark or in the light, it doesn't matter because it's like they're saying it's like it could be like just a little bit of carbon poisoning that causes those type of things.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Have they grown up in the damn Caribbean? Absolutely not. All right. There's some freaky stuff out here in this world. All
Well,
right.
the study is
Certain
strictly
things
for
are
like
inexplainable.
for United States, but it could, hey, that could also be the problem over there too. We just don't know.
Well, well, hey, Bash, you know what? You said it yourself. The Northeast, it's a very old town, okay? New York was built on top of burial grounds, okay? I bet you some of y'all didn't know that, right? There's native burial grounds, there's slave burial grounds, all up and down the damn city, all right? So don't try and tell me this is carbon poisoning happening, okay?
Most things could probably be due to carbon poisoning. It could be like that. It's like maybe some things are haunted, but most of the time it's not. Like when Ghostbusters used to be a thing on Sci-Fi, they had like
Yes.
16 seasons. Probably maybe all the
Oh,
houses
you
there.
mean
No,
Mythbusters?
no, I said Ghostbusters.
Oh yeah, that was a thing too.
Ghost
I actually
Hunters,
never
Ghost Hunters, Ghost
Ghost
Hunters.
Hunters.
There you go, Ghost
Yes.
Hunters.
Ghost Hunters, yes. And then there was Ghost Adventures on the Travel Channel.
So maybe most of those houses, I would say, had a little induction out
Carbon.
gas that was still on. Hence, they think their house is haunted.
So
So
who would have thought, man, all these like haunted houses, movies like Haunting in Amityville and all that stuff. Hey, it's not the devil, it's not Satan. It's just a little bit of carbon in the air.
that's it, man. Like, hey, like your walls had lead in it too. You've been poisoned. Like, it could be from there too. So
Yeah, that's true.
that study was pretty interesting. I've learned a lot from it. I'd known about it for the past year, and I still didn't believe it because I ain't, as you said, like, yo, I need a gas stove. Why you give me need this electric thing? But I've been reading these past couple weeks. Like, okay, I get like where the conversation's going to go. Um, it's really hard to tell a New Yorker that, but that New
Yeah, you
Yorker's child will
westernized.
get used to it and understand it's the same thing. But the parent won't. And I think the dishwasher is a good example.
Yes, I'm the parent in this situation here.
Same thing for washing machines. There are washing machines that are smaller and use less water and does the same amount of work. And it's like, well,
Really?
and people will be cool with that because it's like less water on the water bill.
Right.
People will be cool with that. They don't care. It's like, all right, this is better. But yeah, these new machines use less water and
Oh,
they're
okay.
way better than the old machines from like the 90s.
Oh, cool. All right.
So like I said, hardware technology, stuff like that,
It's getting better.
It's getting better. It's like as long as you're not buying like a Samsung fridge, you should be fine. So
Wait, what's wrong with the Samsung fridge?
another technology thing. Kitchen technology is very interesting. Like I said, I was doing a lot of research on induction stove, but we have some time. Samsung fridges, they tend to have issues because it's mostly like digital issues, almost like cars today, where it's mostly
Holy crap.
digital. So if you need a problem and you're still in warranty, it may take like a week or 2 weeks for a technician to go out there. And regular refrigerator technicians don't tend to work with Samsung because they need extra like certificates to work with Samsung. And for many of them, it's too much of a hassle to get these certificates. And even after they get the certificate, it's too much a hassle to fix Samsung because most of the parts they need are always in back order because Samsung fridges tend to break much faster than other fridges.
Okay, this is kind of creepy that you said all this. I have a Samsung fridge.
But is it
And
like
yes,
the newer one or?
yes. Oh, wait for it. And everything that you just said
Uh-huh.
legitimately happened to my fridge during Christmas weekend. No
Oh.
lie.
Oh.
No lie. No lie. So, so what happened with my fridge was that there was some sort of malfunctioning happening with the ice machine, in which when you get the ice, right? Bastion's face
I
is
read
like,
an
oh,
article about the ice machine. So
you read?
that was
Wait,
the
what
first
did you read
article.
about the ice
No,
machine?
no, finish. Finish.
So what happened with the ice machine was there would be like a little slot that would open up for the ice machine and the ice would come, and then afterwards the little slot would close up. But what ended up happening was that slot kept opening and closing, and so it felt like some sort of malfunction and crap that happened. So yes, we have the 10-year warranty, and this was going on since Christmas. So this was happening for like a good 2-3 weeks. Could you still get water from it? Yes. Can you still get ice from it? Yes, but it was a lot more difficult to get the damn ice. So what we had to do was we had to get someone from Samsung who was qualified to fix this to go ahead and fix it. But as Bastion said, since it's digital, you needed like a specific part, but we couldn't get the part as of yet. And yeah, everything that you said is actually really true, and it's scary that you said all this stuff and this legitimately happened. But now it's fixed. But that's just crazy.
It took like an extra week for them to get the part.
Yes, Bastion, it took an extra week for them to get the part.
The first article I read was about.
I had no decision in getting this Samsung refrigerator, but that was just really creepy how you just did that. That's all I have to say.
Yeah. Like I said, I was just looking into that, and one article leads to another. Gas stove led into Samsung fridge. In the first article was about ice maker, and sometimes the ice maker would be the first thing to go. When they did interviews with people that had like Samsung fridge problems, it was mostly the ice maker.
Damn, that's crazy.
Does yours have like a touchscreen?
It was, yeah, it's a touchscreen. What the hell? Yeah, it's a touchscreen.
Interesting. I would have thought the touchscreen one would be a little bit difficult. I know Silicon Valley made fun of the idea of having a touchscreen fridge, the TV show on HBO, but I don't know. I read those articles, watched a couple YouTube videos about it, and it's like, yeah, I would stay far away from a Samsung fridge, only because the technician wouldn't do it. I'll probably call like a local fridge repair person and say, hey, what fridge is like easy to repair, and just get that, just in case. I remember having a fridge. If anything, when my mom redid the kitchen, it was like maybe 3-4 years ago.
Yeah.
And before that, we moved in like 2008. We had the same stove from 2008 all the way until 2018, right?
Mm-hmm.
That stove never had a problem.
10 years.
10 years, no problem. This new stove, we got the new one, got warranty. I think like a 6-year warranty on it, or 8-year warranty. third year, I think last year during the pandemic, the clicker during Thanksgiving. No, 2 years ago during Thanksgiving, the clicker didn't work.
Hmm.
So they couldn't start a fire in the oven. Like the top
Oh
worked,
shoot!
but the oven couldn't
Right.
work. And
Wow.
we bakers, we bake everything, bake lasagna,
Absolutely.
pies, whatever.
Runny pie, all that stuff.
We tried to contact like a bunch of people. They couldn't come over. They're packed. They're busy. We had to connect to the company, and the company sent someone over to fix it. They did fix it. They did have the part, but as long as we're under warranty, we'll be good. But if we're not in warranty, that part will cost like $400. So yeah,
Warranty is important, people.
warranty and labor will have been cost for $400 in total. So it's like, damn, that's it sucks. But some of the older things do last longer than the new stuff. And
Absolutely.
that was the kind of the conversation I had with my parents. Like, yeah, it's like, it's like time to switch the fridge to a fridge that'll break in 5 years. So
Well,
yeah, same
well,
thing
that's
for
great.
like vacuums and stuff, but it all works the
Right.
same. There's really good ones that cost $150 and really garbage one that costs like Dyson amount. Yeah, I'm dissing Dyson as a vacuum, but it's all good.
Wait, what do you have against Dyson?
No, I just understand the concept of like the suction and the power and everything. It's just it looks aesthetically beautiful, but it
Yes,
doesn't do the job. You know,
that's fair.
I've never seen a house cleaner, right? I've never seen a business. I've never seen any, like we work retail. There's always someone sweeping and vacuuming ever use a Dyson. They have a whole separate machine that does the work. How come we don't have that machine at home?
That's a good point.
That's something I thought about. It's like I've never seen any of these business buy like the whole team of Dyson so because it's quicker to do the work. Nah, that yeah, it charges, but it takes a long time for it to charge, and when it dies, it's done. What do you
Oof,
do now?
it's not good.
Exactly. So it got me thinking.
Well, thank you for that, Bastion, for reading my refrigerator like a book without me not even telling you. Thank you for that. Um, got about 20 minutes left. What else do you want to talk about before we head out?
One last thing before we get into the review. The bronze statue, the bronze sculpture called the Embrace, honoring Martin Luther King and Coretta Scott King,
There you go.
has been unrevealed on the Boston Common. Now, I hope that as you hear us talk about it, that you've seen the pictures, and all I have to say is, this isn't it. I saw what the artist meant. I respect art. I love like when sculptures doesn't look exactly what's supposed to mean and represents so much, but this looks like a lot of things, and it doesn't represent what I think it represents. I think
Absolutely.
the idea sounds great. The execution horrendous
Absolutely.
in
Absolutely.
Boston.
That's what makes it even better too. This is in Boston. When I saw the reveal of the Embrace Bastion, you know what? It's not an inaccurate name for the sculpture because there is definitely an embrace going on there. It's definitely a loving embrace. I will say that. But it's a different kind of loving embrace. And every year we always talk about the whitewashing of MLK. Everyone just said, "Oh yeah, Martin Luther King, he had a dream. Now look at this dream. Black people and white people, yay! Look at us. Look at what we're doing." Right? But there's more to MLK than that. Okay, and you know what I've seen throughout this MLK weekend? I've seen little white kids on TikTok understand the significance of MLK. They understand that bad white people assassinated MLK. They understand that MLK, died for our sins. These little white kids know better than these older Caucasian people. And so for that embrace to take full display for all of Boston to see, but all of social media to see is very jarring and it's disrespectful throughout the legacy of MLK and Coretta Scott King because it's very phallic. Okay, it does look like an embrace, but it looks like a hand is embracing a BBC, and I'm not talking about the British broadcast commune, okay? Channel, all right? I'm not talking about that.
Another thing, one last thing about it too. Creating art is something like I learned when I was like designing apps. Is like you have to look at it in different angles
Absolutely.
because the angle that you want people to see might not be the angle that they step to. So they could look left, right, and behind, and that's not exactly what you want. So it's hilarious, it's weird, and do better for future
Do better.
statue makers. You know.
Why is it always for black people too? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
This
well,
this
there's
is
more to represent. It's not like you're going to build some traitor from the from the Civil War,
oh,
right?
like a Robert E. Lee or something.
All those are traitors. You gonna build a traitor? That's insane. That's a whole traitor you're representing.
Hey man, there's traders that's been named. You know, there's schools named after traders. There's streets named after traders. We have one classic civil rights leader that has tried to do well by the American people, and for black people. For the have-nots, and all we're asking is just to show a little respect. Not have some some black hand and grip a banana. You feel me? Like, bro, come on, bro.
It looks like it's
You did
holding some
so well.
legs too. So I'm just saying, it looks
Yeah,
different angles. You see different things, and yeah,
this is a wild kind of embrace.
that it's not it. I
It's
was
not
It's not a good way to start the year. I was like, what is nah.
disrespectful for
Put
MLK,
some
man.
respect, okay? I was off that day. It's my little brother's birthday too. Funny
Oh,
thing,
was it?
yeah. So,
Damn, sorry, Marcus.
All right. Anyways, we're done with that. Let's talk into the last subject of today's episode. Let's talk about Glass Onion, a knife story.
Yes. It's the sequel to Knives Out, which was brought to you by Ryan Johnson,
Who?
who Ryan
Who?
Johnson, for those of you, Ryan Johnson, for those of you who do not know, he was the director behind one of the best Star Wars movies ever made, Star Wars Episode 8, The Last Jedi. Um, yeah, and ever since then, I feel like he's been trying to, redeem himself with movies like Knives Out, which was one of the best movies to come out in 2019. And
Did you see
now
it in 2019?
I did see it in 2019. That was with Chris Evans. Actually, this was like his first role post Captain America, right? And also Daniel Craig's in it, better known as 007, who is no longer 007, but he is the great detective, if you will, throughout the Knives Out series. And,
Anna de
and
Armas.
yes, and Knives Out is basically like it's like a this wild murder mystery, right? Where you see something at face value, but as the story progresses, you see a lot of you see the underlying layers within the actual story, and you see people's motivations for the murder or whatever, right? And so Glass Onion came out. um I believe it came out only for like a week in cinema. It came out
Like
during
two weeks.
like 2 weeks, but this was during like Thanksgiving week or something like that, if I'm not mistaken. And then it was going to permanently be on Netflix, right? So I didn't see it in the theater. I saw it on Netflix, and great cast. Got Janelle Monáe. Okay, yeah, my guy Dave Batista, Edward Norton, very underrated actor. And of course, Daniel Craig is back. And I have to say, Bastion, this might be one of those few movies where I like this more than the previous film, which is not easy to do. Sometimes it's not necessarily a sequel, but it's a different story, but it's under the Knives Out genre. And I think the title Glass Onion is really is really interesting because the movie is sort of like an onion where you peel back different where you get into different layers like an onion. You know, the further in you go, the more layers are being revealed. You know, everything isn't at face value within this movie, right? I love the characters. I love the pacing of the film. I love the actual reveal of the villain. You know, I love all of it. What did you think?
I thought it was a very interesting film. Just to kind of clarify, I did not watch Knives Out when it came out because of the whole Ryan Johnson thing, and then I was like, all right, let me go over it.
He
Uh,
redeemed himself. I'm telling you, you
so
gotta see it.
so I watched Knives Out first. I saw that. Thought it was a good movie. It's like, oh, all right, this is funny. This is great. Then I saw Glass Onion afterwards, and it's like, oh, okay. It's kind of boring. And then the second half starts. It's like, oh no, this is great. Then it ends. I was like, okay, this is what I'm looking for. Kind of. It does have some flaws, and I think the biggest flaw is how it writes the characters. It's too obvious. I feel like every character is just, I get it. No, you're a
Sure.
politician. I get it. You're a dumb model pop agent. I get it. Um, you're a genius. I get it. Like you're a YouTube, it's switch YouTuber that switched to YouTube because you got kicked off the platform. Cool.
Right.
You don't got to shove it in my face. I get the joke the minute you said
You're
it the first time.
right. You're a caricature.
Yeah, I understand your caricature, but each caricature was explained multiple times. And I thought that was annoying. But I thought the film was great. Like I said, the first half threw me off. I was just like looking for the case, and then it gets to the end. It's like, oh, okay, I get it. The Beatles, Glass Onion. Why didn't I think about that? I used to listen to the Beatles all through high school. Then they played the song at the end. It's like, okay, I get it. It's making fun of me for enjoying Strawberry Fields. I get it. Yeah, let's get into it. You're more into movies. What anything you want to dissect about it?
Um, Nothing really in particular. Other than like you said, the second half of the film, right, where you realize everything isn't what it seems. So it's sort of reflective of an onion, right?
Yeah,
Where you peel back just the different layers of everything and the motivation of certain characters and revealing that the character that you thought was the character is not really the character, but this is actually the character and the motivations of certain characters. And we think, hey, this character is pretty stupid, but no, this character is actually really smart, and they're using what they have to they're doing what they have to do in order to get what it is that they want, you know
yeah. I thought Edward
uh
Norton was
the
pretty fun.
the so-called genius behind everything.
Yeah,
uh,
Miles.
it was wild, but I'll be honest, right? In the beginning, I didn't think it was that person at first. I honestly thought it was just I thought it was the side character that no one was paying attention to.
Mm-hmm.
Like just the stoner dude. I thought, "Oh, it's got to be the stoner guy."
It's funny.
Initially, because no one was really paying attention to him. He was just like an afterthought. So I thought, "Oh, it's got to be him." But then when we started to really, peel back the layers of that onion, we understand that the main villain was this person all along,
I thought,
and everyone is
yeah,
just and everyone is just sucking on the teat.
I thought it was a good representation of what it is in like Silicon Valley versus these eccentric billionaires that, in my opinion, start off with an idea, but then every idea after that is as like ridiculous as the next.
Right.
So it's like,
And because
yeah,
of that one idea that they had initially, any other ideas that they have afterwards, oh, he's a genius. This might have sound crazy, but hey, he's a genius, because he's done this. I'm gonna buy Twitter.
you know who surprised me a little bit? Janelle Monae. I'm a big fan of Janelle Monae, but essentially just watching it and then getting to the second half, it's like, oh no, she's acting. I thought she was just
Yes.
calling it in. It's like, what, you didn't like doing the movie? What's going on? This first half sucks. Then she, actually brought it to the next level. So, okay, this is great.
Well, again, Bastion, you're just starting to see the outer layer of the onion.
Yes.
You don't We don't really know what's going on, but then once that pivotal thing happened, and then you finally get more into the characters' motivations, and you're starting to see when this was going on, this was happening, when this was happening, this was happening. That's what I'm saying. It's sort of like an actual onion
Onion.
where
Yeah.
the layers are starting to reveal itself. The further in you go, there's more layers within that onion. So I was like, that's pretty clever.
Yeah. This was a clever movie. I see why people disliked it. I spoke to several people that just didn't. It wasn't
They
their
didn't
cup.
get it.
No, just wasn't their cup of tea. I think they were looking for a mental challenge where they were trying to um, solve the case, but there was no real case, in my
There is
opinion.
no case.
There is no case until you get to the halfway point of the movie, and then
Yes.
you might not be interested in solving that case. So that's what
Yeah,
I think a lot of people were upset about. I'm not saying it
that's
was
fair.
too smart. It was just like it wasn't smart enough for people.
That's fair because the trailers was giving, oh, this person is dead, and who within this house conducted this murder? But we didn't get that in the actual movie.
Yeah, and I'm fine with this. Like, this is kind of funnier and more interesting to me. If I don't
Yes.
know what they wanted, like, it's one of those things. It's like,
I
yeah,
think they wanted Knives Out.
it would have sucked if you wrote the movie, but this movie is fine.
I think they actually wanted Knives Out.
Yeah, and that's the thing about like artists and Ryan Johnson. I have to give it to him. He understood. It's like, I'm not writing Knives Out. Point one, I'm making a whole different movie.
Right.
It has to be called a Knives Out mystery because marketing. But
Exactly. And
glass,
it has nothing to do with the previous characters at all. This is a completely different story, completely new set of people, completely new story. And I gotta be honest with you, man. If he decides to do another one of these, like a Knives Out 3 tale, I'm all in for it. Like this could quickly become one of my favorite franchises because I enjoy it.
yeah,
I enjoyed both of them.
it's a flex. If anything, I want someone else to write the screenplay, but I do want him to direct it. I want someone else to write
Okay.
it.
Who would you like to do the screenplay? Don't say Ryan M. Night Shyamalan.
No, no, no. It could be like, it could be a group of people, like comedy. I do think there's some comedy to it, but like you have to think about the mystery too. So I don't really have anybody in mind at the moment, but you could do something. You could do something fun with it.
Mm-hmm.
You could do like a space thing with J.J. Abrams if you want a mystery in space, and it could be the same
Ooh.
format. It will just work. Then it'll just be like a weird Star Trek episode. But anyways, I enjoy it. If you haven't checked it out, it's on Netflix. It's a fun movie to like sit down and chill after dinner to watch. I don't know how the feeling would have been if you watched it in the movie theater. You didn't watch this in the movie theater, did you?
No, I saw this on Netflix.
Netflix. Okay. So I don't know the energy of how this movie would have been in the theater, but I thought it was very comfortable in my home studio.
It was comfortable in my home too, but there was a movie that I did get to see in theaters, and I didn't tell you about this on purpose. I got to see the movie Megan, and I will talk to you about that next week because boy, is it a doozy.
Interesting. I have been seeing some good things about it. Or weird things about it. Anyways, we'll get into that next week, but this is Black Seinfeld show about absolutely nothing. If you want to follow us, we're on all social medias at Black Seinfeld NY. We're on Instagram and Twitter. If you have any questions, feel free to reach us out at blackseinfeld.com. Blackseinfeld.com, and our email,
Got it.
blackseinfeldny@gmail.com. And we're also on YouTube. Just type in Black Seinfeld to be able to see our stuff. And we are also on podcasts, so you'll never miss an episode. So please subscribe to Black Seinfeld Podcast, which could be found on any platform: Apple Podcasts, Castbox, Stitcher Radio, Spotify, anywhere. Follow us and share. Do you have anything left to say?
No, thank you all for tuning back into Black Seinfeld. We will be back next week, same time, same space. Until then, take care. Have a great rest of your week. Peace.
Peace.